our capacities to move forward with both state-of-the-art teaching and cutting-edge research. What can we do? What is left for us as Whitten continues to fail us and shut us down? I am excited to have the speakers that we have today, and I'm going to immediately turn the mic over to Professor Ben Robinson.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm Professor Ben Robinson of the Germanic Studies Department, and I want to discuss an item, and I have to discuss briefly because I'm actually running off to teach a class, which we actually do very proudly and with a great deal of love. So I want that to be clear. The item is the Presidential Diversity Hiring Initiative, PDHI, and that was a 7-year initiative announced 4 years ago to build a more diverse faculty at IU that is representative of the backgrounds of our state and our country's population and would reflect the background of our potential students. And that has been paused after its 3rd year, less than halfway through its announced duration of 7 years. So that is the news item. Why was the PDHI, the Presidential Diversity Hiring Initiative, announced with the braggadocio that Barbara mentioned as a major initiative? Why was it paused less than halfway through its announced duration? Now, I want to make clear, as Barbara also did, that the point we're trying to make is there is disagreement, there are fiscal realities, managing a university is complex. So when we point to items like this, we're also pointing to a pattern. And it's the pattern of activity, the pattern of shutting things down without consultation, the pattern of what is shut down without consultation that we're drawing the public's attention to. Because it is in the pattern that we see the intentions of the administration. Those intentions of the administration are not to listen and consult with faculty to make IU the best possible place it can be in the realization of its mission, but is by all appearances to fulfill the agenda of an administration which is narrowly allied to business and legislative interests that do not have the academic mission at the core of their thinking. In the background to this, then, is the cancellation of the exhibit of the world-renowned artist Samia Halabi, is the suspension of Professor Abdulkader Sino without due process, and also, as Barbara alluded to very importantly, the violent and repressive response to the moral courage of our students who have stood up for Palestine, recognizing Palestinians as people, and for that, rather than being acknowledged and validated, they have been repressed with snipers and guns, as well as faculty and community members together with them. That pattern of endangering the IU community is reflected again in this item. 2 things to elaborate the item is the quotation from just last year, almost a year ago to the day, was that the initiative was announced a success. It was announced that $30 million, the initial grant, was spent, and Pamela Whitten, in her Written by Whitten blog, said she will identify resources to sustain and expand the program. That was in 2023. Come to 2024, and the announcement is the program is now paused due to its success. Now, contrast with that fact of the Faculty 100 hiring initiative, where we see the goal of hiring there, and that has not been paused. The goal of hiring there is to hire faculty with outside contracts to the military and to big pharma. And I think that contrast between hiring initiatives is the key news item here to which we want to draw public attention. In other words, the administration is prioritizing narrow financial and legislative interests over the interests of the academic mission and the interests of the university, a state university, to serve the public good. We ask, why was this initiative canceled? We ask that the initiative be returned. Thank you.
and you could just tap it. Yeah. Go ahead and please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Ali. I am a student here at IU. I'm in my 4th year, graduating in May. But I'm going to be giving a statement about the intensive first year or the intensive freshman seminar program. In the fall of 2021, I was a freshman here at IU. And like most first years, I was incredibly nervous to move away from home and begin a new chapter of my life. But something that did help me was IFS. I'm truly saddened to hear that the IFS program that myself and hundreds of students could participate in was canceled so suddenly. For many of us, IFS was more than just a transition to college program. It was an essential bridge to life at IU Bloomington. The smaller classroom setting allowed for an environment that fostered a deeper connection between my class that isn't often formed in my regular classes. The class that I took was a class talking about the criminal justice system, and I remember sitting in a circle with my classmates and being able to have a meaningful discussion and not being afraid to contribute and share my thoughts and experiences. I'd also like to mention that the intensive format of the class allowed for the course to be 3 credits, which let me have more time to engage in extracurricular activities once the school year officially started. And because of this, I have been actively involved in a cultural organization here on campus all 4 years of my college career. This program has meant so much to me, and after participating in it as a student, I wanted to give back to IFS as a program assistant during my remaining years here as an undergraduate student. This taught me skills such as leadership, teamwork, and communication, amongst many other things. Through IFS, I had the chance to work closely with dedicated faculty, which set the academic tone for my college journey and sparked my passion for what I wanted to pursue during my undergraduate career. The unique programming connected us with IU's extensive resources, preparing us for the challenges and opportunities ahead. IFS made my transition smoother and helped me feel at home, and its absence will leave a significant gap for future students. Losing this program feels like losing a vital part of what made IU special to me. Thank you for listening.
My name is Mark Arnaldo, and I'm going to talk about the Intensive Freshman Seminar, later renamed as Intensive First Year Seminar. The Intensive Freshman Seminar was established at IU in 1990 as part of a range of initiatives meant to improve student retention. By 2001, the Time magazine reported initiatives to which IFS was central had increased the number of returning freshmen from 80% to 85%. Most dramatically, retention of African American and Latinx students had leaped from 64% to 82%. At IFS, students go from not knowing if they're going to be able to make it in college to presenting their original research at the student fair 3 weeks later. IFS faculty volunteer to teach in the summer, must be approved to teach it, and must take a yearly training in the spring. No other IU class has so much from its faculty, but then no other class has such a life-changing impact on students, especially on first generation and students from low-income backgrounds. Coming from such a background myself, I was honored to teach IFS for most summers since 2008. On September 27th, Vice Provost of Undergraduate Education, Vasti Torres, attended a debrief meeting in which the IFS faculty looked at this year's evaluations, which are excellent, by the way, and started planning for next year. At this meeting, unexpectedly, Torres started describing IFS as too expensive, and she started talking about difficult decisions. I was at the meeting, and so to make sure that I understood, I asked directly if she was closing IFS. She answered with one word: yes. I asked if the cancellation was effective immediately. She answered with one word: yes. The justification given was that IFS was serving only 9% of the students, so Torres chose to serve 0% instead. We were told that a task force had been working on a pilot program that would help transition students to college. However, no IFS faculty were aware of this project and this task force, let alone invited to participate. If Torres cared about helping students transition to college, she would have recruited IFS faculty first. she would not have disregarded decades of collective experience in the very thing that her task force is trying to build from scratch. No one is more passionate about incoming first-year students than IFS faculty, and many, including myself, would have been happy to help create a system where all students can choose between IFS or another first-year program. We would have also been happy to figure out how to trim down IFS to save costs and make it scalable, retaining what is magical about it, and also serving 100% of incoming students. None of this was considered or done. At this meeting, IFS faculty were understandably upset by this surprising development. Frustrated by our reaction, Torres ended the meeting by saying dismissively, "Stakeholders always want to hold on to what they have." She says stakeholders always want to hold on to what they have. There are two problems here. IFS faculty are not stakeholders. We are educators and passionate educators. Also, we don't have IFS. We serve IFS. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Avery Patterson, and I'm a sophomore here at IU. And I have participated in IFS the past 2 years as a student and as a TA. So like Allie, I have known nothing other than IFS. Here's a statement that I've prepared for you and Vasti Torres today. The faculty and I have heard you loud and clear. You have not heard us. Taking faculty and students into account, one would think, is the first place you would look to ask about the well-being of the IFS program. I served as a teaching assistant for an IFS class this past year. I participated in the IFS program the year before. I met one of the most outstanding mentors that has changed my life. Upon my time with the IFS program, I have achieved goals and discovered what I would like to do in my future. I would like to work with people, students, and mentors to work towards goals in an intensive manner. Taking away this choice of participating taking away this choice of participating in an intensive seminar takes away from the small community that these students join the program in search of. I think that the point of the IFS program was missed here. I joined the program to avoid the overwhelming large crowd that arrives to campus. I joined to make new, intimate connections. And I joined because I was lucky enough to be able to move away from home before the school year started. Some students do not have this choice. A lot of students need to stay home, whether that is for family support or for another couple weeks of quality family time before they make the largest changes of their life. I will share a story with you about my IFS experience. First as a student, second as a TA. As a student, I joined Brian Forrest's Happy Hoosiers IFS class. If you know Brian Forrest and all of his fellow faculty, you will see their frustration in this decision. He made me feel welcome. Being in this small group, we were now what he referred to as his people. I was lucky enough to receive this one-on-one experience with him and get to know him, talk to him about my future, and ultimately make a new friend. In a small setting, I was surrounded by people who wanted to be there, people who valued my opinion and questions about campus. In a smaller group of students, we were able to cater events and provide crafts, games, and treats for all students. When all of the other freshmen arrived on campus, I didn't know many people, but I had a professor to talk to as well as a group of a few other students who were in the same position as me. As a TA, I worked alongside Asad Al-Salah, who taught me so many things about working with students in small groups. I got just a bite size of what it would be like to teach and answer questions. Having a similar experience to these other students allowed me to make even more connections. Seeing these students on campus who will stop to talk or say hi in passing gives me a sense of success and connection to campus. Working at the events where IFS students and faculty come together is a community like no other. There is no worry and fear of performing in front of a large group. All of this being voluntary mends the community and gives us a chance to reach out and learn from other new students. The greatest relationships I made in the IFS program are ones that cannot be made in the classroom. I connected with my instructors. The IFS leadership, Sully, Tanya, and Maria, were always available to contact, have a conversation with, or answer to a question. Most important was Sully. He organized, connected, and directed students during the program. I do not see the experience being the same with thousands more students. I was able to talk to him during events and build a friendship. Our IFS staff meetings were a time to grow in a group of other students learning the ways of the intensive freshman seminars. Replacing a 30-plus-year-old program impacts more people than one can imagine. Over the last couple days, I have seen many students and faculty in their IFS shirts, talked with other upset staff, and discussed how we feel that an experience is being taken away from us. There is no hurt worse than having something taken away from you that you are so passionate about. I encourage you and your staff to reach out to IFS professors and students to ask them how they feel about this and see what they have to say. Thank you.
I just want to also point out that Avery started a petition against this decision, and so if you would like to sign that petition. Oh yeah, go ahead.
On that petition, you will see where parents have shared their reasons for signing, students have shared their reasons for signing, as well as faculty. And it is honestly a very moving thing to look at. I share updates constantly of people that you can reach out to and connect with to complain about this problem, as it is an issue that we need to see resolved. Thank you.
Thank you for adding that. All right, I'm going to read a statement that was written by Russ Skiba on behalf of the University Alliance for Racial Justice. Russ is out of town and unable to be with us today. When SEA 202 was signed into law by the governor, there was tremendous concern about the loss of tenure and the classroom surveillance system mandated by the law. But there are also provisions in that law concerning diversity, equity, and inclusion that are just as dangerous to the values and principles of Indiana University. On September 1st, as mandated by 202, the Whitten administration submitted a report to the state legislature detailing DEI expenses, numbers of staff, and descriptions of all DEI initiatives. This is the same information being used by other state universities to support the closure of all diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and the firing of DEI staff. In Florida, Governor DeSantis gloated when 28 DEI employees were fired without cause at the University of Florida. The University of Kentucky proactively fired DEI employees and closed DEI programs, even after anti-DEI legislation was rejected by their state legislature. At the University of Texas at Austin, both current and former DEI employees were tracked down and summarily fired. Sadly, President Whitten seems to be preparing to take Indiana University down that same path. The intensive freshman seminar that has for over 30 years provided support to first-generation college attenders is being canceled. The president's $30 million diversity initiative is being paused after only 3 of 7 years, after making a promise last year that it would be continued. Now there is word that reorganization and retrenchment of key IU DEI programming is imminent. In the face of such attacks on key diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, faculty, staff, and students are deeply concerned that President Whitten will follow the example of other state universities that have turned their back on faculty and students of color and other marginalized groups. The previous performance of this administration has led to serious doubts about the administration's commitment to non-discrimination. In Dunn Meadow, 2 student leaders, 1 black, 1 Palestinian, were specifically picked out for arrest by the police. We have that in video cam, and even identified as targets by the sniper on the roof of the IMU. Unacceptable. It's my words, not Russ. The black student leader received a consequence of banning from campus 5 times greater than other arrestees. At the Sunday night candlelight vigils, 5 of the first 7 faculty and students sanctioned by the university for violations of UA 10 were members of racially or religiously marginalized groups. Actions have consequences. In Florida, between 20% and 30% of faculty are leaving universities due to culture war bills, disproportionately faculty of color and faculty from marginalized groups. At Indiana University, we value all faculty, staff, and students. We have no desire to wake up one morning and find a significant portion of our colleagues are gone, driven away by the failure of this administration to provide them with an opportunity to stay. We join those who risk sanctions every Sunday night in declaring that we will continue to stand firm, raise our voices in opposition to all the efforts of the administration that threaten diversity, academic freedom, and constitutional rights of our university. Again, that's Russ Skiba, Professor Emeritus in the School of Education.
Right. Last but not least. So I'm Heather Aku. I'm a faculty member in the Eskenazi School. Actually taught IFS early in my career, and my older child just attended IFS for horrifyingly what seems to be the last time. I hope that is not the case. I feel like I'm living in Florida right now. Not just because our state government is trying so hard to be like Florida, but because we keep getting hit with storm after storm. In April, I was assaulted and arrested by the Indiana State Police in Dunn Meadow. In June, President Whitten paid a law firm $400,000 to gaslight us, telling us that her decision to bring snipers to campus was quote-unquote the safest option available. In August, UA 10 went into effect, our expressive activity policy, which cancels the First Amendment between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. In September, I was formally reprimanded for attending a peaceful candlelight vigil after hours and threatened that I could lose my job as a tenured professor if I violate any more university policies. In the last 7 weeks, hundreds of people have attended these vigils, but only 21 have been punished. Most people targeted by the IUPD have been racial or religious minorities. As we speak, Hurricane Milton, a massive storm that last night was categorized as perhaps the second most powerful hurricane ever in the Gulf of Mexico, is heading towards Florida. The media is calling it a once-in-a-lifetime weather event. We all know how ridiculous that is. Just 12 days ago, another once-in-a-lifetime hurricane ended normal life for millions of people in Tennessee, Georgia, Virginia, and the Carolinas. Hurricanes are part of life in that region, but climate change has made the Gulf of Mexico so warm that every hurricane is turning into a life-threatening situation. What will be the next storm at IU? SEA 202 has effectively ended tenure as we know it. You've heard today about the cancellation of IFS and the university's diversity hiring initiative. Every storm we face is intensified by a climate of fear and suspicion. I'm sure I'm not alone in wondering what other programs are on the chopping block. Some faculty and staff have already left for other jobs. Good candidates for graduate programs are refusing their offers of admission. Alumni are publicly threatening to withhold donations. How many more direct hits can we take before IU is destroyed? I have been a faculty member at IU Bloomington for 20 years. This is not just a job to me. This campus is my home. Unlike Florida, there is something President Whitten and the Board of Trustees can do about the situation on this campus. Stop threatening us with termination and expulsion. Stop canceling the programs that we cherish. Start listening to us. We are creative. We are hardworking. We are capable of doing so much good. Please let us. Thank you.
All right. Excuse me. So that concludes our prepared speeches. We welcome conversations with members of the press and others of you here on the campus that want to learn about the devastating closures that have been happening. Thank you so much for joining us, and keep up the good fight.